Percent of the time, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
It's not. It
Gets the people going.
You're now listening to Diagnonsense.
Look at all this damage!
With Justin Pendergrass and Kurt Honak.
You are a sad, strange little man.
Then we would just be idiots saying nonsense.
You know what, Isaac? I didn't miss you. I was gone for 6 days.
Yeah.
And I didn't think of you one time.
So I called you selfish, and when I saw you this morning,
this tension is awkward for me. I feel like this is foreshadowing a huge bromance.
Well, no, I'm out of Isaac's league.
Okay.
Oh, man. Okay.
Like, literally, is that a pun because he's in sports?
Ooh.
Yeah. It very much is.
Guess who won the Stanley Cup? The Avs. 2022 Stanley Cup champions.
I bet you're going to say that a bunch more during this podcast.
I bet you I am. It's almost like
you might mention it a couple different times
in the future.
Premonition.
How do I know what's going to happen in the future?
Somebody call pre-crime.
Oh, man.
Minority Report.
Minority Report. Oh, my gosh. Kurt, how you been, dude? It's been a while. I haven't talked to you.
I've been great. I mean, I'm staying busy with the mental health board, and then, trying to enjoy my summer a little bit because I started a detox with one of our nutritionalists, so that's been interesting. My energy's been a little down, and I've been a little tired, but I think I'll feel better by the end of it.
Yeah, how long does that last?
It's like a 15-day thing, so it's like pretty...
How far are you in?
I'm probably like 4 or 5 days in, I think. Yeah.
Okay. You just juice cleansing?
It's like all these different herbs, and I
Are they unstable herbs?
I didn't look them up. I was just like trusting the process because I was like, okay, these are sold.
You didn't look up.
They're commercial.
What?
They're commercial herbs?
You put commercial herbs into your body?
Commercial herbs.
I'm going to Mad in America right now and telling them to take away Kurt's membership card.
Bro. No.
Is it
okay,
I took a glance.
I took a glance at it, and it was nothing that stood out to me that was like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible.
These don't look unstable.
Well, I saw one thing that was like a...
Fentanyl oregano. What's this? I don't know.
No.
Right, help me get all the toxins out of my body.
Do it.
No.
No, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to meet with her as well, but I haven't because I was sick.
Yeah.
No.
Bro, I got hives all over my entire body.
Too much information.
During COVID.
Didn't want to hear about your entire body. In
Dude,
fact, I'm a little
telling
uncomfortable.
I hope you are, because it was the worst thing. It was very uncomfortable for me, and now you get to hear about it, Isaac. It sucks.
Gross.
I have pictures. Not of my entire body, Isaac. Close your eyes.
Okay.
Bro.
That's good.
I see you over there.
Gross.
Oh my gosh. You're such a child.
Was that not good enough? Are we not going to start?
I have no idea.
It's a soft open.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Diagnonsense. I'm your host, Justin Pendergrass, here with Kurt Honak. How you doing, Kurt?
Doing great.
What are you looking at me for?
I'm not.
This is a bromance.
Let's just keep talking about nothing so that Isaac doesn't get to do anything on this podcast.
Okay. So you looked at me, and I know that you know that it's time to talk about something. So I'm just waiting for you to acknowledge it.
It's time to talk about joy.
Okay. Housekeeping.
Oh, my
July
gosh.
22nd, which is less than a month away. Plenty of teams left in the golf tournament. Me, still a free agent, also shot consistently a bogey average the other day. Shot an 86 at Settlers. So we're talking about a 4-team best ball. You don't think I can get some decent shots? I'm shooting at 86 right now. I mean, is it good enough to make the tour? No. Am I excited about it? Yes. Hit me up. Free agent. Also some sponsorships left for the holes, so pay attention to that. Cafe iced tea. Have you had the iced tea yet?
No. It's a bomb?
It's good. I like it. The peach one, especially.
All right, I'll try it after this.
There's a mint as well that I'm excited to try, but I haven't been able to catch it on a day that it's in. So come have some iced tea. It's really good. Podcast-wise, let's see. We have a 2-part thing going on with redemption right now, actually. Linda Chudd, our empowerment coach, came on and talked to Julia and also myself, and we did kind of a longer episode that we're going to split up. I think that was really good. I'm excited to go back and listen to that. And then let's see, My Voice just dropped their 9th episode. My House Podcast just dropped their 10th. We've got another 10th episode coming out, the last 10th episode of My Voice. And then the dawn of a new era, My House Podcast, episode 11, coming out.
Dang,
in
this
a week.
is episode 10 for us,
This is
isn't
episode
it?
10 for us, yep.
Dang, I hope that this one doesn't suck.
Oh, man, I can tell you that it's going to go really good because I'm Nostradamus, and something tells me that we're going to have a really great conversation because Justin is just looking so chipper this morning. What does
I
chipper
don't
look
think
like
Chipper
for you?
would require I don't think Chipper would describe either of us, Kurt. I don't think that that's a word that would be.
Maybe wood chipper.
I
maybe
don't
wood
think
chipper,
I've
yeah.
seen Justin chipper ever.
Here we
Bro,
go.
I don't know that I experienced that level of excitement or like,
Chipperness?
yeah, I don't know. I just don't get to that extreme. Like, so I'll use like a scale of like -10 to 10. I don't really go past 4 as far as like excitement goes. I definitely go deep down in the negatives as far as my emotions, but I don't ever go like you will not see me jumping around for joy.
Is it 4 on a happiness scale or 4 on like is it a separate scale for like being satisfied or like just feeling like good? You know what I mean? I feel like there's a difference between.
I feel good. Do you know what I'm talking about, Kurt?
I think there's a
Like,
difference between
it's
being
like-
like joyful, bubbly, happy, excited, and then also just feeling like satisfied or like good in a moment.
I know what you're talking about. I think I've had more days where I don't have that than in previous years, but I still get it. I still get it like hard.
Like the lows?
I both, you know. I
Are
mean,
you
some
talking
days where
about
I
like
have
getting
both.
to the extreme of like excitement, like where you're like giddy and jumping around, like the excitement that people have in the movies? I've never experienced that excitement for anything.
You know what was interesting is like, so the Avs just won the Stanley Cup, right? And this is going to be relevant. So,
All right, make it
So-
relevant quicker.
so when they won Game 2 7-0, and they went up like 2-0, I was like jumping around, like, oh my gosh, they're up 2-0. They won 7-0. They just scored again, like blah blah blah. Then like in this last game, so this is the game where they won the Stanley Cup, right? Like they top of the mountain. They're the best team in all of hockey 2021, 2022. When they like actually won, I just kind of like froze. You know what I mean?
You had that level of like
Like I just
excitement, or it was like terror.
I don't
Which one
know.
was it?
I
You
think
don't
it
know?
was I was excited, but then also like shocked. Like I hadn't
Oh, yeah.
experienced
So it was a
that.
good feeling.
I think it was a good feeling.
Okay.
Like I guess I didn't know how to react because I didn't have any other baseline for how I should react in that moment.
Have
You
you,
know what I mean?
Have you had that experience of that level of joy before, though, in your life?
Well, yeah.
Have you experienced it more than once?
I would say, oh, yeah. I mean,
So-
for sure.
I don't know that I have. I don't know that I even know how to experience something that like I don't know that I know how to experience joy at that level. And I'm interested, Kurt, so I have a theory that like joy isn't necessarily something that you have, it's something that you're taught to have. And when you're being given circumstances like yours and mine, you know, like, I didn't really have a lot of opportunity to experience joy, so I didn't know how to comprehend it when it started happening in my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that when you're so like for me as a kid, when I experienced like antidepressants can induce mania, and there's times where I was either manic or I was actually happy, but because of, I think, the dynamic of me being mentally ill, that was looked at as like a, wasn't looked at as maybe like that's actually just joy, authentic joy. And so I went through periods where, I felt that way because but I guess the difference is, right, you're saying that you don't feel it. I'm saying that I did feel it, not necessarily with the mania, right, but just in general, I've had moments like that. So I guess that is different, right? It's like, I've had moments like that, but I don't feel like my environment was conducive to like that,
To joy.
happiness and joy. Yeah. Even though like if I felt it, it was like unsafe to express. I don't know if that's the same thing though. You know what I mean?
And then like society looks at you and they brand you this person because you don't know how to experience joy, and now you have RBF, or you are an angry person,
I definitely,
or you're like,
right.
or you're like this bad person, but really like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know how to experience or, share
Right.
internal happiness externally.
Right.
Well, so this goes back to what we were talking about with Jay with the myth of happiness. And I guess I should have clarified earlier. I shouldn't have said like happiness and joy. I think happiness and joy are probably closer to each other than what I should have said, which is happiness versus peace. Because that's what we talked about with Jay is.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that there's a difference in what we're having a discussion about right now.
Well, yes.
Because happiness is something that people are trying to attain that's unattainable. I don't think joy is unattainable. I think joy is actually a moment in time.
Right, but then this is what I'm asking is, on that scale that you talked about, is that is that just for feelings of happiness, or is that your scale for like your feelings of peace, or is it two separate scales? Can your peace scale get to a 10? Have you ever felt like you're at a 10 peace-wise?
So to me, peace would be 0.
Okay.
Peace would be like, I'm not overly like joyous about something because, even joy causes chaos, right? Maybe chaos is the wrong word, but I think 0 is like that neutral ground, that peace, that Zen moment.
Would
right?
you rather be at a 0 than a 4 though?
I don't know. I'm in a 0 place in my life right now, and I've never been there, and I've been actively living in that for a couple of months, and I'm trying to learn how to navigate what that looks like, and it's different.
And you're
right?
talking about being at a 0 as opposed to being like at a negative state continuously.
Yes, because
So
my
now
life, consistently I lived at like a -4, right? And then when I would experience happiness, I would never go over a +4.
Right.
I would live in this range, but I'd never feel at peace.
So now
I was either one side of that coin or the other, and now I'm just kind of living in what I would consider this peaceful moment in my life where like things are going fine, and that's okay.
I think that's fair, because if I think about it, so the times when I've been like 8, 9, 10 truly like joyful, happy, like engagement, winning a championship, like I guess this past weekend when the Avs won the Stanley Cup, not a big deal. I
didn't hear that.
That's if I was constantly living at a 4, then I wouldn't have a good baseline for why those moments are so impactful in my life. Like I can vividly still remember back to my sophomore year of high school and every moment in that state championship game where we won. And I can still remember back to like 3 years ago when we won first in the division, or like scoring like a game-winning goal or something like that. And I think the reason why those memories are so vivid because that was such a high point that it stands out in my memories. And I think that's also why it's easy for people to have like vivid memories of like truly like dark moments in their life, those like super, super lows. But if your baseline it was a -4 and now you're living at a 0, you're resetting your baseline. So does your baseline being at a 0 allow you to maybe move past that 4, or is it more so that there's a block in your brain where you can't get above that 4?
That's an interesting question. I think that with being at a 0 right now, it allows me to take that step, back from the hard stuff, but also look forward at the stuff that's joyous. Because when you've never truly experienced like joy in your life, I think it's hard to really identify it when it's happening too. It might manifest itself as anxiety. It could manifest itself as, that really overheated face, right? Like,
Yeah.
You guys have seen probably multiple times my face gets really, really red out of nowhere. But I don't know what that is because I'm not angry. It's not an anger. And so I'm still trying to identify really what that looks like in my life, because I went from years and years, the majority of my life, 24 plus years of unwinnable circumstances, into a life that I would say is pretty freaking good. I'm doing okay. I'm not great. I haven't beaten this thing called mental health, but that's going to be a lifelong battle. I have to accept that.
Well, I don't think that humans should live at a 6.
No,
if we're using your
because
scale,
then
then it's
not a 6.
and
Then it's
that's
a
what
0.
some of these like antidepressants can do. Is when you experience that high level of mania. To me, that's almost like you're living at like a 6 constantly,
Well,
and
I think
can't get back down from there.
It's good to have goals to feel as good as possible. You know what I mean? Like,
but you should feel. My point is that you should feel good, but you should feel at peace. Like if you're living at like a 2 or a 3, if you're living at a 2 or a 3, like life is good, you're at peace with your situation, and when good things happen, you're able to match your emotions up to that high. And if something bad happens, then maybe you go down into that low, because that's a normal way to feel.
Right, and that reminds me, when you say it like that, reminds me of like a drug high. Like a lot of people will chase a drug high because if they can't get that. I mean, that's the whole reason why we talk about like ACEs scores and substance abuse, because people can't, it's hard for them to biologically get those neurotransmitters, hormones, whatever it is, naturally. So like that is the hack to the happiness problem biologically, but the problem is then drug dependency, and existentially then you're in a whole entire different realm of problems, right? Because then it's like not about what your life is, and it's about just getting the next substance. And like, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I know for me, I can feel happier. But it's come at like years and years of figuring out, okay, like I need, today I'm feeling super sad, and like some dark chocolate would help, or some exercise. Like I'm pissed.
No, you're
like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm pissed. I know I need to exercise, because if I stay like this, I'm just going to be pissed for like days. Right. Like, and some of that is post-acute withdrawal. It's like your brain's just not getting, the neurotransmitters and the stuff that it needs. And then maybe the nutrition, if I eat like garbage, I can feel it on my mental health. And so like
if you're not drinking water.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that the last few days. Like
Yeah.
I should have been hydrating and I haven't. And like, it's
yeah. I mean, yeah. So for me, and part of it is that like, for me, I think is like, there's layers, right? So there's like the biological layer of stuff and the nutrition, but then there's like the relationship stuff. And it's like, I'm still trying to put myself together after that whole entire experience. And there's part of me, there's days where it's like, I wonder, it's like, can I still be like the man that I need to be to have relationships in my life, that are, with women that are like with the right woman, you know what I mean? It's like, can I even, am I even capable of that because of everything I've been through? And like, days where I have like, I just feel like shit some days, like with
Yeah.
post-acute withdrawal, you know, we talk about like, you know, if I don't have all my tools in place, like some days I'm just like, it's like I'm a clingy, depressed mess, and that's not attractive. That's like a turnoff, you know, or can be for a lot of people. You know, it's like, and I understand why. It's like you need a supportive partner, you need a strong partner, and so sometimes, like for me, it's like the relationship piece is a huge driver for me, because I know I'm happy when I'm in a relationship, but that's not like, you know, everything that I, you know, that's not like the most important thing in my life, but it's something that makes me happier. But
Well, it's one piece of
like,
the puzzle.
it's one piece of the puzzle,
It's the
right? And so there's all
connection, though, I
these
think,
pieces, right?
too.
you
It's
know?
that connection on a deeper level that you gain from a significant other, right?
Right.
It's not necessarily, because I just want to be clear for the people who are listening. You're
Yeah.
not saying that you're coping by being
Right.
in a relationship.
Well, that would be
You're s-
codependency,
Yes,
right?
you're
Yeah,
not
no.
That's a whole
Okay.
different podcast.
Right.
I'm just saying that out loud so that the listeners know what we're talking about. Is the fact is that you say that something that brings you joy is humanistic connection between somebody who is actually interested in you
Yeah.
at
Yes.
a deeper level
Right.
than just
Right.
surface level Kurt or friendship.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Just
and
just
that's
being clear.
and just the dynamics between that, right, are like, yeah, complicated, because it's like, you know, you're playing catch up, and it's hard because it's like, yeah, there's so many different layers, right? And it's one of the things in my life that I'm working on. But it's like, you know, going through those, you know, you lost years, and it's like you're trying to play catch up, and you're like, am I gonna? How's this gonna? How am I supposed to compete with, you know,
right. Hey, man,
the
that is
world?
a fair
You know,
question.
I mean, I you know, I think I've done a lot of good things. Like I supplemented and got my health straightened out pretty decently. But it's like, yeah, we talk about like made for connection, right? And I feel like, you know, having somebody you love in your life is really important. But it's like, you know, that's tough when, and then even if you do have that person, you have to still manage that like relationship, right? Because it's not a fix all.
And your own mental health, because you never know. I mean, there's
Right.
days that
It's-
I don't know who I'm waking up next to. As myself, like my
Right.
wife doesn't know who she's waking up next to.
I
Is
was
she
like,
waking
man, are
up
you
with?
just firing shots at your
Yeah.
wife right now?
Is she waking up next? That you know what I meant.
Yes.
Is she
You,
waking up next to you know Justin, who's dealing with an
Right.
emotional attack on himself? You
Right.
know that some days it takes me a few days to really even comprehend what's going on. All right, go through my checklist. What have I done? What haven't I done? What am I needing to do? Do I need to limit this in my life? What do I need to do to make the adjustments so that not only am I making my life and my day go a lot easier than it can, but I'm making my wife's life a lot easier? Because you and I are in
Right.
two different situations right now, where I've been married for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've been with my wife for going on 13. But she had to learn how to live with me. Learning to live with someone who struggles with what I struggle with is a completely another ball game. And, it's not always easy for her to understand things that I'm going through. So I don't always share everything that I can with her. That's why I built mentorships and other people in my life that, are in that field. And I have people like
Right.
you, Kurt, that I can reach out to who fully understand things that I'm going through and like are, a connection that I've built. I had to learn kind of the opposite of what you're talking about, Kurt, which is that my spouse can't be all of those things for me all the time, because she also has her own stuff too, and learning how to navigate that over the last 10 years has been, it's been a battle, but it's also been a very beautiful process, because the strength in my marriage and our union is stronger than it's ever been. And she understands me better than she ever has. And it's super cool to see that.
Well, that's kind of part of finding a partner too. Like, I don't struggle with mental health aspects as much. Like, I don't need someone in a partner that can help me through that as much. But what I am bad at is railroading people when I have something that I need to get done, either like career wise or hobby wise or life wise. And so I needed someone that is willing to deal with me just going after something as hard as I can, and is patient enough with me to where I can come back the next day and go, hey, sorry about that. Like, let me go back and let's do something that you want to do. Or this is, before I continue to move forward with this, like, how do you feel about it? But in that moment is willing to just support me and let me kind of figure things out as I go. That's something that I struggle with. And my fiance, I'm sure, struggles with other things that I'm able to help her with. But then on top of that, we're also kind of talking about how even when you're in that relationship, there's still, that's just one piece of the puzzle for your mental health and for your life. I mean, there's so many other things that have to be in place for that to work, and then also for you to just find that piece. I mean, I have my hierarchy for myself is God, family, and then self. So in everything I do, I try to, find a balance with that hierarchy in mind. And I'm probably not always the best at it. I think one of my biggest weaknesses is that self tends to fire its way up the list when I have something that I'm really passionate about. But I mean, a belief system.
I feel like I don't put myself first enough.
And
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
like,
and
I allow
everyone
everyone else's needs.
Right. But I mean, you have your needs for a belief system. You have your needs for family, for a relationship, for friends, for personal hobbies, for time alone with yourself. And that, I mean, and everything is not independent of each other either. If you spend all your time with your spouse, then maybe you neglect your friends.
Yep.
And you need both of those things. You probably should spend more time with your spouse than your friends. That's another problem if you're doing the opposite of that.
Maybe we should go to 48-hour days. Wait, hear me out. 48-hour days.
Work days?
No, life days. 48 hours. We still
I
spend
don't
the
know if
same
that
amount of
math adds
time.
up.
No, we just spend the same amount of time at work, but then we have longer to do everything else.
What are we going to do about the sun going down?
Look, dude, it's Alaska. We only got to worry about that 9 months out of the year.
9 months.
Fair enough.
It's not a perfect plan, but it's basically government.
I don't know where we just went right there.
It's a plan.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like like I'm just saying a good relationship enhances your life, and I guess that's a driving factor for like me trying to self-improve. But like, I think there's layers too,
I
right?
agree with you.
Like so there's the biological stuff, you got the relationship stuff, the psychological stuff is really actually biological stuff too. But like, when I think of our stories, Justin, I think like we've been through a lot of stuff, and sometimes I think it's hard to know when it's like safe to feel excitement in your life if you've kind of been in this position of like a lot of like you've just had to like grit your teeth through a lot of like disappointment and stuff going wrong and disillusionment, I feel like
it kind of trained me to, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
It kind of trained me though as well to only look at the negatives in my life, because it was like nothing good can ever happen to me. It tricked my mind into believing, that constant that's woe is me mentality,
right.
That victimization that, without meaning to, I fell into it.
It's I think it's called learned helplessness. And I see a lot of people, I struggle with that. I mean, a lot of people struggle with it because they've just been like, if you've been through the ringer and you haven't caught a break, it's like you're on the inside of it looking out, and all you can see is like, I can't see anything. It's dark in here. And it's like, there's no way. There's like, it's like,
nutshell.
Right. And everybody sees your situation. And they're like, well, you've got, it's like, it reminds me of when we have people that unfortunately commit suicide or something, where people look at them and they say, well, I never expected that to happen. I never saw that coming. And it's like, cause from their perspective, what they're dealing with is bigger, I think. I don't know. You tell me. I mean, I feel like what they're dealing with, like from their perspective, a lot of times could be something that they can't see out of, you know what I mean?
It's that tunnel vision.
Yeah.
They don't see. So like, I mean,
perspective is reality. And so if it doesn't matter how bad your circumstance is compared to anyone else, if it's bad enough for you that you're having that tunnel vision mentality, then it just is. And there can be a lot of factors. It's kind of like a nature versus nurture thing where you're talking about life experience constantly beating you down. And so now your outlook is more and more negative. But then there's also, I'm sure, like genetic factors that go into how likely you are to experience those feelings or fall into a mental illness. And I think it's tough for some people who maybe either haven't experienced as much negativity in their life, so they see something that someone's going through in a vacuum and they don't really understand why they're struggling with it so much, or their life story is like, well, my ACEs score is a 8 and this person's ACEs score is a 3, so I don't really understand why they're freaking out about this one thing. Like I've been through so much worse and I'm way better off mentally than they are.
yeah.
I mean, but for that person whose ACEs score is a 3, it doesn't really matter how quote unquote bad their life has been if they're in that moment and experiencing those feelings. And like you said, Kurt, it's just pitch black all around them and they can't see out of that box. It doesn't really matter what their life experience is compared to anyone else, because to them it's creating this, it's having this effect on them.
That's their world.
Right.
That's the only reality that they have.
Well, you can't see another reality.
Yeah.
We can try to see, and we can understand, like I can understand your story on a logical level, but as far, like, I have no proof that I'm not currently living in a simulation and all of you are just NPCs in my life.
This is the Matrix.
That's kind of like solipsism is what they call
I'm
that.
pretty sure that you guys are real people, and I'm pretty sure you have your own thoughts and feelings and world that you're viewing out of your eyeballs.
I just think it's funny
I don't have 100% proof of it.
I just think it's funny that Isaac thinks that he is the one who's not the simulation. He, for some reason, he thinks that he's the star of this world.
I think you're.
It's obviously Danny DeVito.
You're making more of a case for why you're a simulation.
I've thought about that, and I think it's called solipsism is how it's pronounced. I think, and it's basically where you don't believe anything that's outside of your head, or it could be possibly not real, and it's kind of like a side effect of like derealization. So when people are taking like certain drugs, derealization can be one of the components, and it's terrifying. I've experienced that pretty hard before, and it's pretty terrifying. But it's interesting too, because like, that's part of it. I think I mispronounced this word. Anosmia, I think is how it's pronounced. Is a real clinical term, right? For people that are experiencing that, where they are so, what they say is they're so mentally ill, they don't realize that they're mentally ill. And, I don't like to put it into those terms, but
they can't see you pointing at me, Justin. It's an audio podcast.
Well, now they know I pointed at you, and now we know that you have that.
I just think that it's like a subjective, viewpoint. I don't like the idea that we have, that label of like people being mentally ill, because I think part of like the roots of compassion is understanding like why, insanity happens. It's like, well, because somebody has a subjective viewpoint, and people can be driven to extremes, you know, and to survive. And so,
Well, this is how serial killers happen. Is like even
In
though
this room.
going back
even
to
though I
Ultra,
can't even though I can't prove 100% prove that everyone else also has a stream of consciousness, I realize that everyone else is a person around me. I can empathize with people.
Well,
I can experience compassion. I can
right,
see the world through their eyes as best as we can, humanly speaking.
right.
But for someone that is deep within mental illness, and if they turn to, if they are a serial, I've been listening to a lot of true crime podcasts lately.
I can tell.
If they are a serial killer, then to them the world outside of what is going on through their eyes, it doesn't exist. It doesn't matter.
Right.
A lot of those people truly do see everyone else around them as an NPC in their open world video game, and
I have trouble with that definition, I think, because there is socially condoned violence in all societies, and there are scapegoats, and I feel like there are levels, right? There's like people that may have like their frontal lobe and prefrontal cortex or something, like theoretically, we're talking theory here, are impaired, and they literally have a hard time generating empathy. And then there's people who are knowingly committing violence because of ideological reasons or because of self-preservation.
Yeah,
or
I'm not saying
you know
that
what I mean?
everyone that's a serial killer experiences that,
Yeah.
but I believe there are multiple serial killers that experience that disillusionment where they truly don't view other people around them as people.
Well, if you say disillusionment, does that mean you're on the side of believing that it's an illusion?
Look, I already said this
you'll never know
pretty far
because
back.
you're an NPC.
Oh shit! Somebody get me out of here.
Isaac is the problem. That about sums it up.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Why are the lights turning off, guys? I don't know. What's going on?
Oh my gosh. Is that what you needed to get out of your car earlier?
Yeah. That's why I went to my car. Is my bag, my special bag.
Ah,
This is Among Us.
your go bag.
We're a podcast Among Us.
Yes.
Oh no.
Sus.
I am acting a little sus right now.
You are acting a little
It's interesting that our conversation went from how experiencing joy to
to the dark
simulation
side.
and
Well, these are real
murder.
things. These are real things people experience.
Yeah,
I think,
no.
you know.
I mean,
I finally
called Diagnonsense.
experienced joy.
you finally experienced
This is
joy.
this is what it sounds like.
Man, that's.
Yippee.
Oh, now Justin's acting chipper. Look at that.
Oh dang.
We can call it at this point. In fact, if you could turn around and close your eyes really quick, Justin. This is the last episode of the
This
show.
is the darkest episode.
This is the darkest episode. Thank you guys for tuning into Diagnonsense. I'm your host, Justin Pendergrass, here with my co-host, Kurt Honak. Do you have any final thoughts for us, Kurt?
It can only go up from here. We can only have more positive podcasts from this one. So
That's true. It couldn't get worse.
It couldn't get worse than
did.
No.
this.
We legitimately just sat in here and started talking. And
Yeah.
that's what you guys just got.
We have to record our intro, by the way, as soon as this music fades us out.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, we'll do that. Bye,
No,
everyone.
I don't really like that.
Okay.